30 to 33%, depending on which party, of the delegates available are being chosen on Tuesday.
That's an
And
interesting list. I see quite a spread across the country.
yep, and we have just a whole bunch of in my own state, North Carolina, and oh joy, I'm getting campaign ads on the TV now. When we talk about Super Tuesday as political scientists, and here's the thing: is this is interesting in that I think I know who's going to win on both sides in all of these races.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, I don't think there is any state there where Biden isn't going to win the Democratic primary and Trump isn't going to win. Right? So we know the answer, and so we have an election where we in fact know the answer already, and so the question is, you know, what should we be looking for? What is there to know about this? So what do you think we should be looking for on Super Tuesday in the results?
Well, as it turns out, I'm going to look at first turnout
Turnout.
because the thing is, we're talking about primary here. So I'm looking to see who turns out across the country. How many people aren't going to show up to participate anyway because they think the outcome's predetermined, which to a great extent it is, right? But also maybe they don't have time, and they may not also have the interest, right? I mean,
Right.
let's be real. Like politics could be boring, AF, right? So it doesn't have to be this conflictual thing all the time. But there's some people who are just not involved. Period. Right.
Yeah.
The people who do tend to vote in primaries tend to be the activists,
Right.
as it turns out. So I'm looking to see if there's any deviation from the norm in terms of turnout. If the turnout bumps up a little bit, I'm interested to see. I'm always interested to see a demographic breakdown because, in particular, I'm always looking to see if the youngest generation is paying attention, right? And if they're paying attention enough to know know how to register to vote, right? That's a hurdle that people have to overcome anyway, right?
Hmm.
Are they committed to a specific party or candidate? So I'm also looking to see if the I'm really looking to see how much support Nikki Haley gets, because that to me is an indicator of the anti-MAGA Republican vote. I'm really looking to see if there's that anti-Trump voice in the Republican Party. And again, just just in the interest of learning more about the political system and about elections, that's my interest there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and so I think we got a couple things. One, we have the turnout.
Mhm.
And again, one thing I would like to do with this podcast is pose questions and then subsequently, either in short videos or in our next episode,
Yeah.
maybe both, come back and say, hey, we talked about it. What happened? Right. So we got homework.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll help me out with that, or maybe you'll just leave it to me. I don't know. The thing is, though, that we want to look at that. And so we want to, and here's the thing, that this isn't going to happen on the news, right?
No.
They are going to mention turnout, and I think what we need to do is look at turnout and then compare it to previous primaries,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
say, all right, what does it, and we're going to have to pick because, there wasn't a Republican primary in 2020, right? And there was a Democratic primary. Oh, by the way, in 2020, on Super Tuesday, uh, Biden lost 4 states to Bernie Sanders.
I do remember that being an issue. Now
Yeah,
that you bring it
and
up.
and but so there was a competition going on, and there was that. But we want to look at turnout and compare it to different elections. We want to look at demographics, see young,
Yeah.
break it out, and I think how young people vote is very critical for the election.
What other
Uh,
demographic variables do you think we might we might see some fluctuation in? I brought up age.
Age is there. I'm I think clearly we in the South for Democrats we want to look at African American turnout,
Mhm.
right? Because that has been something that has been mentioned in the punditry, that black support for Trump is growing, weak for Biden. Let's
Yeah,
see what the turnout looks like as an indicator there. I
and that can
think,
help us test some of that. A lot of that punditry stuff is just to make more news. It's not even really.
right.
I don't put a lot of weight in that, but that would allow us to kind of test that talking point.
Right, and we want to. And again, honestly, as political scientists, I keep coming back. We're professional. We are devout agnostics, right?
Yeah,
We don't. We don't. I mean, I don't want to say we don't believe in anything. Personally, we believe in things, but as scientists, we have an idea. Even if I think that this theory, this explanation of how the world works is so great, I have to test it and try to see whether. And so we always test hypotheses, right? So we want to test, is this true? And so we will test that. And by the way, this goes beyond fact checking. Fact checking is whether a simple statement is factual. We are trying to see whether a conjecture about how causality works, how one
yeah,
thing affects another. So we're looking for a relationship and a test of it. We're digging deeper. We're going into the matrix. I always say, we're kind of like Keanu Reeves when he finally perceives the stream of
yeah.
code
I
behind everything, right?
I,
That's where
I
we're
use
trying to get.
that. I use that in class all the time. You
And
know,
you know how
like
old that, has an 18-year-old seen that movie? Are we just so
well,
old?
I asked that question. I'm like, you guys seen The
Yeah,
Matrix, right? And yeah, there's some heads going, no, no. But for the most part, yeah. When I mentioned Neo's like moment when he just
right.
sees ones and zeros, I'm like, you know. But I also say like, put on your political science lab coat, right? Put on your political science gloves. Put on your political science lenses. Leave your partisanship at the door, right?
Yeah.
Leave like I'm not saying your religion doesn't matter, but just maybe change those lenses a little bit, so we can come in here and put on our political science protective suit of armor and just observe the world and see, you know, how some of our ideas about the world stand up to scrutiny or not. Because if you got a good idea, and this kind of builds on something you were saying in the introduction, if you got a
Yeah.
good idea, it should withstand scrutiny.
So I think we can look at these things. We'll try to compare um, turnout. I think we can look at Haley's percentages and talk about that. And so those are some things, because that, by the way, that is what I don't know how much we want to work on that, because I think that is what a lot of people are going to seize on,
Yeah.
and we're going to see a lot of, because we want to do things that they aren't doing in the mainstream press, because we're boring, right?
Let's
They're going
think
to do what's
about
exciting. We're going to do what's boring.
let's be really boring and let's also include the Hispanic vote.
Oh yes,
I
that's
want
not
to do
that
that
boring.
too.
That's not that boring. I could come up with more coma-inducing boredom than that, for sure.